Welcome back to Wikinews.
Today, we're diving into a story that's heavy, one that's left a lot of people in France and beyond feeling a deep sense of loss. Thierry Ardisson, the iconic French television host, producer, and larger-than-life personality, passed away at the age of 76. The news broke on July 14, 2025, and it's been a whirlwind of emotions ever since. If you grew up watching French TV, or even if you just stumbled across his work, you know Thierry wasn't just a presenter, he was a cultural force, a man who shaped how we think about talk shows, interviews, and the raw, unfiltered energy of television. So, let's take a moment to honor his life, reflect on his incredible legacy, and unpack what his passing means for the world of entertainment. Settle in, because this one's going to hit you right in the heart. Let's start with who Thierry Ardisson was, because if you're not familiar, you need to know why this man was such a big deal. Born in 1949, Thierry Ardisson didn't just host shows. He reinvented what a talk show could be. He was the guy who could sit across from anyone, from rock stars to politicians, and get them to spill their souls in a way that felt real, sometimes uncomfortable, but always magnetic. His shows, like Tout, monde, parle or Lunettes Noires pour Nuits Blanches, weren't just about interviews, they were events. You'd tune in and feel like you were eavesdropping on the most fascinating dinner party you were never invited to. He had this knack for blending wit, provocation, and charm, all wrapped up in his signature black suits and that sly grin. Posts on X have been calling him HommeEnNoir, the man in black, and it's such a perfect nickname, because he brought this cool, rebellious edge to everything he did. France televisions even called him a figure emblematique, and they're not wrong. Thierry didn't just host TV, he wrote its history. When the news of his passing hit, it was like a punch to the gut. BFM TV broke the story, confirming Thierry Ardisson died at 76, and it wasn't long before tributes started pouring in. His partner, Audrey Crespo-Mara, shared the heartbreaking confirmation, revealing he'd been battling liver cancer. It's a detail that adds such a human layer to this larger-than-life figure. Here was a man who seemed unstoppable, who could command a room with a single question, and yet, behind the scenes, he was fighting a quiet, personal battle. The Élysée, France's presidential palace, released a statement saying Thierry contributed to writing the history of French television, and that's not just official fluff, it's the truth. From the 1980s to the 2000s, his shows defined eras, captured the spirit of the times, and gave us moments that are still talked about today. What made Thierry so special wasn't just his charisma, though he had that in spades. It was his ability to push boundaries without ever losing sight of what made a good story. Take Tout, monde, parle, for example. That show was a cultural juggernaut in France, pulling in millions of viewers who wanted to see what Thierry would ask next, who he'd provoke, or what unexpected moment he'd create. He wasn't afraid to go there, whether it was diving into controversial topics or getting guests to reveal things they probably regretted the next day. But it wasn't just about shock value. Thierry had this incredible emotional intelligence. He knew when to lean in, when to crack a joke, and when to let silence do the talking. Jean-Luc Reichmann, another big name in French TV, called him an example of professionalism, exigence, and innovation. That's high praise, but it feels so right. Thierry didn't just host, he crafted experiences that stuck with you. The reaction to his passing has been overwhelming, and you can feel it especially on platforms like X, where fans and colleagues are sharing their grief. One post hit me hard. It talked about how even in death, celebrities like Thierry don't get to keep their privacy. His passing was initially denied, then confirmed, and suddenly everyone's weighing in, some with respect, others chasing headlines. Audrey Crespo-Mara, his partner, reportedly plans to take legal action against a journalist who leaked the news prematurely. It's a stark reminder of how the spotlight Thierry thrived in could also be so invasive. But beyond the noise, the tributes are what stand out. People are sharing clips of his best moments, those quick-witted interviews, the way he'd disarm a guest with a single look, or how he'd make you laugh and think in the same breath. One user on X wrote, "Thierry Ardisson captured the era like no one else." And honestly, that's the perfect way to sum it up. Let's talk about his impact, because Thierry's work wasn't just entertainment, it was a mirror to society. Back in the 80s and 90s, when TV was still finding its groove, he was out there breaking rules. His show Lunettes Noires was this late-night vibe where he'd interview artists and musicians in a way that felt like you were hanging out in a smoky club. Then came Tout, monde, parle, which took things to another level. It was bold, unapologetic, and sometimes polarizing, but that's what made it so real. He gave a platform to voices you wouldn't hear anywhere else, from underground artists to political firebrands. And he did it with this effortless cool that made you want to be in the room. Even when he stirred up controversy, and trust me, he always seemed in control, like he knew exactly what he was doing. That's the mark of a master. His influence didn't stop at the screen either. Thierry was a producer, a writer, a creator who shaped the careers of others. He launched shows, mentored talent, and left a blueprint for what modern talk shows could be. You can see his DNA in so many programs today, not just in France but around the world. He showed that you could be entertaining and provocative without losing substance. And for viewers, he was like that friend who always had a story to tell, one you couldn't stop listening to. I keep thinking about what Raquette Dati, France's former Minister of Culture, said in her tribute. Thierry knew how to capture the epic. That's so true. Whether it was the fashion, the music, or the politics of the moment, he had his finger on the pulse, and he made sure we felt it too. But let's get real for a second, this loss hurts. Thierry Ardisson wasn't just a TV star, he was someone who made you feel something. Maybe you laughed at one of his cheeky questions, or maybe you were floored by how he got a guest to open up about something deeply personal. For me, it's the way he balanced humor with heart. You'd be watching him grill someone, thinking he's about to go too far, and then he'd pivot with this warmth that made everyone feel seen. That's a rare gift. And now, knowing he's gone, it's hard not to feel like we've lost a piece of what made TV so exciting. On X, fans are sharing their favorite moments, like that time he got a famously private celebrity to crack up, or when he tackled a tough topic with just the right mix of guts and grace. Those moments are why we're still talking about him. The news of his liver cancer adds a layer of tragedy to all this. It's a reminder that even the biggest personalities, the ones who seem larger than life, are human. Thierry kept his illness private, which makes sense, he was always in control of his narrative. But it also makes you wonder about the battles he fought off camera, the ones we never saw. His partner, Audrey, stood by him through it all, and her strength in sharing his passing with the world feels like a final act of love. The fact that she's now dealing with media leaks and legal battles just shows how complicated grief can be in the public eye. It's a side of fame we don't often think about, but it's real, and it's raw. As we reflect on Thierry's life, it's impossible not to think about what he leaves behind. His shows are still out there, on archives, streaming platforms, or old VHS tapes for those of us who are nostalgic. His influence lives on in every talk show host who tries to push the envelope, every producer who wants to take a risk. But more than that, his legacy is in the moments he gave us, the laughs, the gasps, the times we stayed up late watching him because we couldn't look away. France televisions called him emblematic, and the Élysée said he wrote TV history, but for fans, it's simpler than that. He was Thierry, the guy who made TV feel alive. And while we mourn his loss, we can also celebrate the incredible mark he left on the world. So, where do we go from here? Thierry Ardisson's passing is a moment to pause and appreciate the people who shape our culture, the ones who make us think and feel in ways we didn't expect. It's also a reminder to cherish the time we have, because even the brightest stars don't shine forever. If you're feeling this loss like I am, maybe take a moment to revisit one of his old episodes, or share a memory in the comments below. What was your favorite Thierry moment? For me, it's those late-night interviews where he'd get someone to reveal something so real it gave you chills. Let's keep his spirit alive by talking about the impact he had. Before we go, I just want to say thank you for being here, for listening to this story, and for caring about the people who make our world a little brighter. If you found this video moving, please give it a like, it really helps us keep sharing stories like this. And if you want to stay in the loop for more tributes and news, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss a thing. Rest in peace, Thierry Ardisson. You were one of a kind, and you'll never be forgotten.